through the first quarter of 2020. And sorry if I'm a little out of it today. I kind of have allergies, eyes are itchy, and runny nose. But I guess let's start with any leads, needs, good deeds out there. Anything at all? I saw some deals trading. Oh, it wasn't here in Hawaii, but it was local investors. I think it was in the mainland. But does anybody have any deals on the line? Market's changing, right?
Anybody raising capital? Need capital for a deal?
I have a little bit of both, actually.
Let's go.
Yeah, pretty much locked up a 43 unit deal over in Pennsylvania. And it's a really interesting property in the sense that it's like used to be a resort about 50 years ago. The owners turned it all to long-term, and now there's a couple main houses, but there's 17 little cabins on 10 acres. And I'm going to turn it into like a glamp ground, and really just bring it back to that resort style, that new age Airbnb with a little more flash. So gonna start raising money for that soon, and just really excited for that deal to get moving.
Nice. Are you funding? Are you raising for the whole thing?
He's coming to us, hopefully.
Yeah, coming to you guys for a good majority of it.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Where is these again?
Poconos.
It's in the
Poconos,
about an hour and a half from New York City, an hour and a half from Philly. Ton of ski resorts around, a bunch of lakes, and then it has that like authentic cabin vibe. I compare it to the East Coast of Tahoe.
Okay. Yep.
That's a pretty solid comparison.
Yep. Nice. Well, if anybody's interested in jumping in, hit up JD. I mean, you guys are. I don't know how you guys are doing it, because you guys are scaling big, scaling wide, but somehow like it's running like a machine, right? So, and that's not an easy one. I was in I was arbitraging the Airbnb for a little while early on. This is back in 2018 maybe, and so I didn't have all the services to help systematize and scale like they do now. But either way, like I mismanaged those so poorly. I don't know how. I was like, I'm never going back into short-term rental again. You know, like I just have nightmares from that. But it's more because I didn't do it right, you know.
And arbitrage is a really tough game to play. I think it's definitely overhyped out there. It's a lot more work than people make it out to be.
Yeah. But like if you do it right, and you set it up correctly, like how you guys have, man, when you crack that code, there's a lot of gold at the end of that mine, you know.
Yeah, it's super fun. It allows a lot more room for creativity between the interior design, just how you finish it. But excited to have one here that we're doing some renovation on. This is like one of our first turnkey.
JD, have you looked at the Arizona market, like Scottsdale particularly, or Phoenix?
I started poking around in Sedona recently, but I haven't looked at Scottsdale. I need to.
I just think, I don't know. Since I've been traveling here, I've rented a few, and I've seen some unbelievable Airbnbs, but they just have such big events here all the time. Like that golf tournament that was here last weekend. I think that brings in like 2 million people every single year, you know. And then they had like a gemstone. I guess this gym, it's like I wouldn't say a conference, but like a gym event. So it's just stones. I guess that's the biggest event that Arizona holds, but it's in Tucson. But people literally stay here and then just drive over to Tucson. And I was just like, you know, Arizona's a good state for, you know, taxes, like easy to buy, pretty consistent weather. I'd say pretty easy to build too. Foundations can't be very hard. You know?
Do you know the regulation, how they are with Airbnbs and short term?
They're really like easy with it. Like there's not a lot of restrictions. I mean, maybe know how the like condo hotels or like towers are, but as far as like single family homes, it's nothing like we see in Hawaii.
Yeah. Yeah. And JD, real quick, where are you guys managing right now and have properties exactly? It's all over, right?
Yeah, we're all over. We go from the Jersey Shore over on the East Coast all the way to Costa Rica. We have about 4 primary markets, I'd say right now, where we have 15 or more rentals. Costa Rica being one of them. Philadelphia, we have 100 there. The Poconos, we have about 15, about to be 60 once this deal goes through. And then Pittsburgh, we have about 25 now. So like those are our main areas, but then we have pockets of like 2 or 3 in a bunch of different areas that we're looking to expand. The hardest part is really that just initial expansion. Once you have one or two, it's pretty easy because you've already found the right cleaners, the right vendors. And even getting into new markets isn't terribly difficult because we have the systems down for expansion now and how to hit the market the right way.
Yep. Love it. Nice. Okay. Well, does anybody else have anything? Okay. Well, today we keep another open forum. I think it's perfect timing too, because obviously there's a lot changing, a lot in the finance space, the markets, and the interest rates, right, that affect our space. And in fact, I was hoping someone would be on. I saw Justin came on. I don't know, Justin, if you're on the road or not, but I'd like to hear if you're available, what you're seeing.
How's it, Corey?
Hey, oh, great. Is it okay? You can you talk to us?
Yeah. I'm just on the road now. I was able to price out just some standard owner-occupied loans and investor loans. So this morning for Oahu, owner-occupied, just standard 20% down, excellent credit. We're already looking at about 4% at par or close to it. Maybe slightly under 3.875 with a slight lender credit. Slight points and 4% at a slight lender credit. And then on the investment side, 25% down, excellent credit. We're looking at 4.5 at around par.
Yep.
And that's, rates have moved a lot. I know they keep talking about rate increases, but we've seen rates jump pretty significantly even prior to this March rate hike that they're talking about.
Yep. And are you guys getting I mean, I'm assuming from what I hear, it's only going up from there's no before it seemed like the market, they're testing the market or something. It would kind of bounce a little bit, but what are your thoughts?
Where before, the rates really started moving, early January, a lot of people were kind of thinking we were going to see 4% at some point in the year, maybe Q3, Q4. But it's something we're going to see that. We're seeing that almost now, and we're definitely going to see, from what they're saying, probably a little jump early March also.
Yeah. Okay. Have you guys seen less like applications and stuff and the volume slow down, refis and all that?
Well, the refis have almost all dried up except for specific reasons to cash out, a divorce or an inheritance or something like that. Refis haven't done a refi for a little while now. So a lot of people are kind of turning towards the people who did refi and have, low 3, sub 3%. Those people are just kind of looking at home equities to tap equity without, ruining their low interest rate that they have on a cash out.
Right. Yeah. Got it. Wow. That happened quick too, right? Because everybody was refinancing like a year ago or 6 months ago. And
right.
So okay. Yeah, thanks, Just, for I know you have the pulse on that. Every day you guys get is it daily that you're I know usually you check it daily, but are you guys having like meetings and stuff on the team? or no?
No, I mean, we kind of just monitor it. It is what it is. I know buyers are getting a little rate centric and kind of, wanting to know what's happening with their rate potentially, or how it's going to affect them. But if you're still looking to purchase, I mean, especially a primary residence, 4% is still not terrible, in the big picture.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Well, yesterday we had the NPLA call, and there was a lot of talk about the interest rates. So what they were briefing us on was just to make sure that we set expectations, and we with our clients who are going into a loan, because it is changing daily, and it does affect even the DSCR loans, the 30-year DSCR loans. And what we don't want is to give someone a preliminary rate to start, right? And then by the time we get to closing, maybe 30 days later, the environment or the space has changed where we cannot offer that rate anymore, right? So their big thing was telling us, let's make sure, like, whoever's the originators, right, which we're originators, that we're letting our clients or our investors know that if you're going into one of these loans, especially the 30-year loans, then it can change by the time you close, right? So, and
question for you on that, Corey. So, can you lock in the rate for a DSCR loan, or is that you can't lock in those rates?
No, yeah, we don't lock rates.
Because the problem I'm having is, right, when you're trying to do the DSCR loan, because it's based on the income of the property, when the rates go up, it's less that you can pull out from your refi or whatever or your purchase, right? So like the rates make a big difference from an investor standpoint on the DSCR, because that extra point is huge as far as how much money you can pull out, so that really hurts.
Yeah. I think it's just in these times, it's I don't think we ever locked. Have we, Alex? The 30-year?
I don't. We've never. That loan's so dependent on let's say parameters, right, and qualifications. So your rate, it's always changed. The rate's always changing, but not only that, to qualify for the best rate, there's so many little check boxes you got to have. The 800 credit. Your DTI not DTI, but DSCR needs to be 1.1. And then once you go on leverage, it also has a sliding scale on leverage. How much are you trying, to leverage that asset? Then that also is going to adjust the rate. But yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting time because the rates are going to go up and everybody's going to see it. But at the same time, if you're using JD's method, I'm pretty sure you're not going to have to worry about the DSCR for the monthly cash flow. But right. If you're doing long-term rental, and it's just a 1-year lease, then it makes it
Yeah. Well, one thing just to keep note of is that, and I don't know if it matters to anyone here on the call, but I think it's kind of interesting because there's both sides, right? We're fighting to get the lowest rate on the borrower side, but at some point, you have to think about where your money's coming from too, because some of the lenders who originated and closed some of these 30-year DSCR loans, they might have priced it at a fixed rate, maybe 4.5%, 5%. But now it's changed. The environment has changed now, and some of them are upside down, so they're bleeding on these. And what we don't want is our key capital providers to be squeezed and pinched so much where they have to pull out of the game or have to sit on the sidelines for a little while, because then that makes it a lot harder for us, right? So we have to see the game from all angles, right? And I thought it was kind of interesting, wow, yeah, just a few months ago, people were closing loans at fixed rates at maybe 4.5% for investment property, when now with the rate hikes and future rate hikes, is putting some of the lenders in a little bit of a corner, but it didn't seem like they're too worried about it. I was in and out on the MPLA call. So Alex, if you have anything you want to add to share with the group.
I would say, I mean, on our side of it, their biggest thing was staying in close contact with your, pretty much your note buyer or your aggregator who's gonna buy your capital or supply your capital. So if you guys, when you're doing a DSCR loan, just make sure that you're, staying in contact, and then ask if there is a rate lock, whoever you're working with. And if there's not, you definitely want to continue to check in and say, hey, like, where's this rate looking like it? Because you just, if you're doing a really tight deal, you're risking the chance of getting to the closing table, and let's say the rate increases 0.25%, there's a good chance that changes the DSCR. Maybe your loan doesn't qualify anymore. So just check if there's a rate lock, and then make sure you stay in contact with them to make sure, especially on a tight deal.
Actually, maybe Aiden, maybe if you want to text Justin or Alex, and maybe ask them if we can lock for the 30-year. I don't know if we even really asked before. Might as well ask, right? Maybe. We'll see. Hopefully we get an answer before the call's done. Now, I guess so Justin's saying that now they're closing their par is like 4% now. So for the investment properties for the 30 years, so long-term rental loans, we were starting at 3.75%, and now we're starting at 5.1. So it's increased dramatically. So, but so has the conventional rates, right? The leverage is the same, but it just shows how much of a difference that is, especially on a 30-year loan. When it comes to bridge loans, like fighting for an extra 0.5 point on the interest or spread, or extra point on the front or the back, is not as crucial as it is when it's a 30-year, right? Because the 30-year, that thing is spread wide, and every basis point can matter and make a big difference. So I know that we're looking at one loan, which is kind of had a little bit of hair on it, but for the 30-year, and it's looking like it's coming out to 5.875. So it's definitely gone up, guys. That was kind of a hairy deal, but just to keep that in mind. Does anybody have any comments or any news or anything they'd like to share to the group about the interest rates and what the Fed is doing?
I got a question.
What's up, Joey?
Corey, I got a question.
Yep.
So how's the Russian invasion to Ukraine going to affect the interest rates over here?
I don't know. I really don't know personally. But does anybody have comments on that? Or have an answer or opinions? Everything's up for speculation, I think. Yeah, I'm not sure, Joey. Not sure.
Because all I know is that gas prices and groceries going to take a massive hit pretty bad. That's all I really know. But I'm just trying to see how it's going to affect the real estate market.
I think naturally it depends on how much the US is involved, and or any of our, treaty countries. So,
well, I'm wondering, I mean, it could, but not directly, right? I don't see it, but I haven't been following enough, to be honest. So, but perhaps I'll look into that. Yeah, that's kind of, we want to stay current with all things that could affect us from any angle. So looks like I don't think anybody else has any answers on that or opinions. So well, I think in the NPLA call too, they were talking about Kiko was on there giving his update about the wholesaling ventures. So I wasn't in there quite the whole way. So Alex, did you hear what they were talking about? It was just a brief update or what?
So what they're essentially talking about is there's a bill to require wholesalers to get licensed and go through licensing. So we talked about the fact that every like group should review their pipeline and see how much deal flow actually comes from wholesalers. But like one of the companies we work with, they're like 80% of their deal flow from their investors that are buying actively is wholesale deals. So for them, like this is could be very impactful. We have taken a look and seen how many of our deals are that way. But at the same time, they also said that one of the things where fraud is presented the most, or like kind of like shady stuff is done, is when there's a wholesaler in the deal. So sometimes when people are trying to do something that's not proper, or legal, it's through the wholesale transaction. So it's also not just affecting the fact of the way that we're doing business, but it's like you just need to pay more attention to the deals that you are doing with a wholesaler. Just make sure everything's on the up and up, and then also just make sure you're not like that what they were saying was getting robbed, aka so there's some deals that people just won't do because of what the transaction looks like with the wholesaler involved. But I mean, it was the update for us is, as a private lending industry, we want to make it to where the licensing is not required. It's our duty as a lender and as a title company to be able to review, the transaction, and what's going on, and all the moving parts. So we'd rather stay unregulated to continue to, let that market thrive and continue to help investors, which is pretty much everybody on this call.
Yeah, and I think the NPLA right now, I think they're just deciding which I think they're still deciding if we're gonna kind of take action and help and kind of, I guess, go against what the NAR is fighting for. But there is a little bit of debate going on in there. Some people think that wholesale deals are actually, they take up a lot of time underwriting, and it can clog up pipelines, I guess. It takes a little harder. It takes a little longer to close. There is more risk. So, but overall, I feel that the MPLA is going to take a stance soon, and I think it's going to be for going against this regulation. So hopefully, I mean, we're going to be in the thick of it if that's the case, because we're not just in the NPLA. I mean, we're in the leadership. So I think, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But either way, if you're a wholesaler, it's business. We just got to pivot, right? If you're a true entrepreneur, like, you'll find a way. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep everybody updated. One thing I think that was really cool was that Kekoa and Jason, who did the interview with Jerry Norton, that is going to be dispersed throughout the NPLA so that they can hear the side from a reputable person, right, who's an educator in our space, and have some talks at the highest levels to see how we can team up if we are going to take a stance, to help support the little guys, the wholesalers. Some wholesalers are not little guys, man. They got like big, massive machines running, So, but that it's cool to see that, like a space like the private lending space is going to be kind of going to bat for just mom and pop investors, so right, like us. So we'll keep you guys updated and stay tuned on that one. Does anybody have, I guess, someone like that they know? Maybe they're a mentor of theirs, or someone who's they're in their training courses or something, who is kind of in the same mindset and is watching what's going on in that space and would refer us to them to have conversations so that we can, keep building a team to help support, maybe this this venture with the NPLA, then please let us know. Does anybody have anybody? Jerry Norton was a great referral. That came from this call, by the way. Somebody mentioned, oh, Jerry Norton, and they connected Kikoa with Jerry Norton. They did a podcast. It went really well. I thought Kikoa did a great job. And now it's being dispersed at the highest levels in the NPLA. Oh, Jamil, okay. Do you have his contact, Tay? Okay, perfect. Thank you. So Tay's got somebody. Yeah, we want to talk to everybody, and also build relationships with them. It's an opportunity to build a relationship with them and possibly bring them on here, and we can all learn, from them. So please, yes, if you have anybody, please send us their name and we'll reach out. I know Pace Morby, there's a few people who were in his mastermind or still are in his mastermind. Is anybody on right now that's in his mastermind? Oh, Jamil is Pace's BFF.
Yeah, Kiko reached out, so then I think he's gonna reach out to you on Pace and Jamil. So. Oh,
that's right. Yeah, Kiko did tell me that. Yeah, that's right. Pace Morby. Okay. Anybody else? Oh, Daniel. What other courses have you or masterminds have you been a part of?
Went to Pineda's a month ago.
Oh yeah. Oh, Ryan. Yeah.
If you can get that guy has a huge media presence, and so if Keiko can link up with that guy, that'll be a huge, I think, like bonus as far as the getting the word out there or just thinking through things, So, and the dude is super smart too, man. Pineda, he's a super smart guy.
Yeah. Okay, so Ryan, yeah, that's another. I'm sure Keiko might have reached out to him already, but if not, then yeah, definitely. Keiko is kind of since he's in the legislative committee, and they know that we're kind of in both spaces. He's been voluntold, I think, to take charge, and he has been. He's been doing a great job, actually. So, all right. Well, if anybody else does have anything or anyone else they'd recommend, would love to try to see if we can put something together. Plus, it would be cool to meet new investors, right, who are doing big things. Okay. Alex, before we move on, because I really want to talk about the NPLA since we had it yesterday, but I was in and out on the call. But was there anything else you think that's necessary to share with the group?
I really think the biggest discussion was really just about the rate hikes and keeping a close contact and relationship with your lender, your capital partner, whoever you're working with for a loan, to make sure that you're going to get what you're going to get, especially if there isn't a lock-in time or point. Because I think that it's, it may not be huge, but it's going to be something that's consistently going to affect us the rest of this year for sure. So, that was what we talked about by far the most. And it was just everybody kind of giving their opinion on it. And then obviously the wholesale transactions as well. I think there's a few people that kind of are interested in seeing it go the other way, where it does require licensing, because I feel like it would just kind of help and weed out some people. But the majority of the group is for the other side of not requiring the licensing for it, because it's kind of like our space too. There's licensing in some states, but not a lot of states. So.
Yeah, and what I've noticed, I have that feeling too. I have a feeling that majority of the NPLA are siding or with, fighting the good fight. But I guess you can tell who has been on the the investor side too. And who's kind of came from the banking institutions. They kind of grew up with as finance guys. Because they're the ones saying wow, the wholesale deals clog up our pipelines anyways, and the other guys are like, no, it's very necessary to have wholesalers not shackle them down, you gotta let them roam free. So yeah, I have the same feeling. But okay, I just had one main question I kind of wanted to pose out there to the group. It's kind of more for my benefit is so it's like kind of like my sounding board, right? I guess so you can start conversation where I want to really get if possible people to put their input on with the market environment that we're in. Where do you guys see opportunity? You know, because wherever, you know, when things are starting to change or get volatile, there's usually opportunity there. And I have just a feeling that something's about brewing, you know, and I want to see what does everyone else see opportunity right now? Maybe maybe JD, if do you have any opinion? Are you just doubling down on short term? I mean, I know you got a bunch going on too. Like, you close them. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely just doubling down on short term, trying to focus on larger projects at this point, stuff that needs a little more renovation and get my hands a little dirtier. But I'm bullish on the market. I mean, I don't see short-term rentals going anywhere, and I kind of have an appreciation for the rates because when I first started, rates were already at 5% and saw them wash down. So it is what it is, and if they're going to keep going up, I just want to hit the market hard this year and get some lower interest rates locked in.
Yeah, got it. Yep. So the short-term rental space, you're feeling you're very confident. I think I agree. It's very clear. Like travel and vacationing is not going away. Like as soon as they opened up flights and travel again, it was like crazy, right? So.
Yeah, it's been at an all-time high. And I think that the interesting piece to play with is regulations, is really staying on top of different cities that might be changing things or not changing things. And try to position well, because even the cities that are changing their regulations, there's a way to get into the plays that are still legal. And that will kind of drown out the rest of the market. We're seeing that in Philly now. They have a bill that would change it so that about 90% of the Airbnbs on the market now would be no good. So I've been targeting some projects that are the right zoning, so that if that bill goes through, we're in a really good position. And that's applicable to any city or anywhere that you're looking at. So it's just staying in the know and positioning yourself for the changes that are coming.
Yeah, it also matters like your market too, right? Not just the economy as a whole or the housing market as a whole. Tay, you had a question about financing for short-term rentals?
Yes. So I'm just wondering if most of the products out there are is it DSCR for short-term rental financing? And so to qualify or to see the income of the property, we just kind of have to pull up in some kind of report like AirDNA for projections and counting vacancies, something like that. And of course, our reserve and down payment and all that. And okay, the next question is the loan based on the offer price or on the appraised value? Maybe specifically for Kiko.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah. So the second question, I can't even remember the first question now. It's throwing me off. What was your first question?
I think so. The first question was, does Kiko, well, if it's a DSCR, but does Kiko consider like the projected income from AirDNA report or like like a short-term rental income, not a long-term rental income?
Yeah, they evaluate it as short-term rental income using software like AirDNA. That's one of the sources, I believe.
Okay.
Okay. And then the second question was
purchase price and
like is the loan to value, and that value is purchase price?
It's the lesser of the two. Yeah, the lesser of the two. So the appraised value or the purchase price. So if the appraisal comes in lower than the purchase price, then that's the value that we have to go by. That's why we want to make sure that we're conservative in our views and we're not buying too, I guess, too high. And
Yeah. Okay.
JD, you want to answer John's question? Do you use AirDNA, JD?
So I don't. I prefer Price Labs, which is one of their competitors. And you really have to take these things with a grain of salt. I'm sure you can get the same findings on AirDNA, but it's really about pulling up like specific comps to what you're doing. It's not as simple as throwing in like a region, and then if you're say looking at three bedrooms, because you have to account for the size and the quality of the units and try to find comparables. But these sites will offer you like a whole list of places and how much revenue they're doing, and you can really get a feel for what you're going to be able to bring in based off of those comp sets.
That's great. That's a great tip. I never heard of that resource. Thanks, Shady.
Yeah, sure.
I bet it matters too, right? I mean, so I was just talking to Keone about this earlier. So because like when you're going into a deal, you have to look at the values in different ways. And what I mean by that is you have kind of like your own internal value, right? Like I think I can get this much for the property if I'm going to sell it, or it's going to be worth this much or appraised at this much when I'm done repositioning it or renovating it. That might be true, but you also got to think about the value that you can show on paper for the appraisers or whoever's doing the valuation for you, because sometimes they don't match up, right? And so just because you know that you can sell your house for a certain number because your boots on the ground, you have pulse on the market, you still have to see it from an appraiser's eye on paper. What are they going to look at? Because they're the ones that are in control of what the value of your property is, right? So just keep that in mind. I'd say that's one thing that was it came up multiple times this week for us. And so going into a deal, I would make sure you look at kind of the deal and the value of the property from both angles.
Yeah, so you mean both using sales comparison approach and income approach, or something different?
No, I'm meaning more like let's say let's say you're looking at a market to flip a property in, right? And like the highest price house sold was $1 million, maybe in the last year, right? But you know that you can sell your house because all those other comps are not very comparable. Maybe you're a superior product. You know you can sell it for 1.2 maybe or 1.15. What I'm saying is that even though you know that that's your ARV, you might have to work your numbers based off of what the appraiser might value it at, which is $1 million maybe, right? So because like that's the highest comp ever sold, maybe they won't get the value that you know you can internally. So you can run into problems on the back end of a loan, because when you're about to close, and you get the appraisal back, the appraisal will come in at $1 million, which on paper it makes sense because there's no comps for like 1.15, right? But like really in true market value, you know you can sell that property for 1.15. You're gonna have to kind of assume that you can only get a 1 million ARV. Your loan will be based off of 1 million ARV. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
I've had that happen for a client when I was working as an agent. They bought a duplex, and I think the purchase price was almost $700,000. The appraisal came back at $650, and the appraiser would not budge because no duplex has sold for more. Even though this place was 25% bigger, more bedrooms than any other place, an extra floor, like all of these extra things that made it a home run play for the buyer, but the appraisal would just not come back, and they would not reconsider changing it because no appraiser wants to be the person to set the new bar.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like it can blow up a deal sometimes, but just if you're aware of it, then as long as you're not too far off, and definitely call whoever's doing your financing, to just double check to make sure that we're not gonna have any appraisal issues. But JD, I actually have a question for you. On your when you're doing when you're running comps for a short-term rental, do you also, because I agree with you, like, there's so much different things that can change. It might not be a good comp because even the interior, not so much the specs of the unit or the house, like 3-bed, 2-bath, like if the interior has like something that the other unit doesn't have, that's like maybe an outdoor deck with a jacuzzi or something, right? I'm guessing like that would rent higher for a unit with the same specs in the same building. So you wouldn't use that as a comp, or would you?
So I consider it very similar to how like an appraisal works, in that you have to pull comps that are similar on paper, but then when you go in, you have to make adjustments for whether or not you have the jacuzzi or they have the jacuzzi. You have to adjust up and down based off of that. And then the other thing to keep account of is when you're looking at listings, because you can actually pull up their listing, you can see their rating and see all the pictures of everything that they have. You could furnish it better than they did. You could be planning on furnishing it worse than they did. And it really just gives you a sense of what factors you're going to need to hit certain revenues, because it'll show you the past year for what that they've done. And maybe you think you can host better. A lot of times I'll see listings that are like 4.6 that are making, say, 50,000 a year, which means I know that if I go in and manage that, it'll be 60, 65. So I can make those adjustments on the fly. And it's just like an appraisal where you just want to be honest with the comparison that you're making and make adjustments accordingly.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it is a little bit more in depth when you're trying to find the comps, like how much, can I charge per day? Because it's like also the features of the house, right? Not just how big it is or how many bedrooms and bathrooms does it have, how close is it to the beach or something like that. It's more, you have to look in the unit too, right? Like, is there anything that like is that guy getting like $100 more a night because he has a jacuzzi and a deck? Probably. So I don't have that. I probably have to devalue. I can't ask for more than that unless he's sold out all the time, right?
Yeah, for sure. And usually I try to avoid having to make those adjustments. So like if someone has a jacuzzi and my place doesn't that I'm looking at, I won't use that as a comp. I would rather find other ones that are very similar. And most short-term rental markets have enough data for you to do that.
Oh, wow. Okay, nice.
I see like the big mistake a lot of people make is they'll just go in AirDNA and throw in 3 bedrooms in this neighborhood, and they'll just take whatever that average occupancy is and that average revenue, and they think that's kind of where they're going to get.
Oh, no.
Which could be so off. And a lot of times
that might have been me. I think I was doing that. That's probably why it didn't work out.
Yeah, and a lot of times that comes back way lower because there's, for every listing that is like an all-star listing, there's probably 3 that are just underperforming, like part-time, like average Joe renting it out just on occasion. And that really skews the data for the averages. So it's so important to go in and dig a little deeper and get those comps.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I thought, yeah, okay. Man, we can go on and on about like what you're doing. Yeah, there's so much different variables. And if anybody's interested, like I think it would be a great deal, but I'd love to have you back on, JD, and dive in again. And because I know you guys have grown since we've even did the call, right? Like just keep going.
We're probably triple the size of what we were before.
Yep.
So I've definitely learned a lot of new stuff and happy to share.
And Alex, I think, can confirm, but Rich loves you guys, and he wants in, man. So and Rich doesn't usually come in unless it's a real big opportunity that he sees. So yeah, exciting.
Awesome. We're about to get stuff going. It's just a matter of time.
Love it. I love it. All right, guys. Well, shoot. Oh, I can't believe it's almost 11 already, but I guess does anybody else have anything that they want to talk about before we call it a week and maybe just get going for next week? I want to hear a good deed next week, I think. I know there's a lot of people who are doing good deeds.
Is Camacho on? I don't know if I saw him. Camacho gave us a referral, so there's a good deed.
Oh yeah.
Yes, he
Oh,
did.
that's right. No, he's not on today. Oh, Roderick's on. What's up, Roderick?
What up, Corey? How you doing?
Aloha.
Aloha. Yeah, JD, I would love to hear your story, man. We're still in escrow on our triplex in Daytona Beach, Florida. There's a little pocket that's
Yep.
supposed to be legal from what I understand, and it'll be my very first Airbnb experience. So, bro, if you want to tell your story, I'm all ears, or maybe yes next week or something. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, first rental. That's super exciting. Daytona's an awesome area. That should be a lot of fun.
It's his first STR.
STR, yeah, that's what I meant.
Right, Roger?
Yeah. There's a house and 2 little 1-bedroom, 1 bath. So I gotta fix them up a little bit, and then they should be ready to rock.
Nice.
Any advice?
Well,
Yeah, definitely make sure you're on top of everything from the beginning, because the review process and the algorithm and the boosts you get such a huge boost from being a new listing, being a new host. And then once you get a couple reviews under your belt, you can really churn out a lot more revenue. I had a property that was supposed to do maybe $2,500 a month. And I put my heart into getting that thing like 30 straight 5-star reviews. And after that, it was doing $8,000 to $10,000 a month. So
wow.
On like a $240,000 house. So the numbers you can get just by winning the algorithm are huge. Make sure your cleaners have checklists. I'm sure you're going to be on top of all of these things, but just make sure your cleaners are doing the right job, have checklists. Like, you're going to have to be a little more hands-on at the beginning, or have someone help you be hands-on. But it'll be worth every dollar. Once you solidified a really solid rating, after you have enough, like even a bad review here or there is not going to bring you down. But if you get a bad review early on, you're going to be fighting so hard to catch up in the algorithm.
Yeah, that's a good tip. So the launch is very important, it sounds like, right? And Roderick, what was that kind of sub neighborhood that you're in that allows short-term rentals? And
yeah, it's just a little area called Holly Hill. It's not super nice, it's kind of getting gentrified now. So I guess that would be a really good question for Jonathan is, I got to get the current month-to-month tenants out, get in there, get the rehab done, make it super nice. Luckily they're small units, and my furnishing bill probably won't be too bad. But is there like what would you put in the yard? Would you put a gazebo or a barbecue or like a jacuzzi, or like what would you do to try to make it a little nicer than the surrounding area?
So that really depends market to market. And what I would say is you can go in on Price Labs or AirDNA and see like how often different amenities are getting booked, or like how often people are searching for things. So for jacuzzi, for example, you might see that 20% of searches involve having a jacuzzi, or that makes X amount of rate. Like, you can filter to only have listings come up that you're analyzing have jacuzzis, and see what the difference in the rate is to really give you an idea if it's worth it or not. A lot of times stuff like that is worth it because it's a one-time cost and your nightly rate is going to go up, and the ROI is just crazy on something like that. But it's just, you only have so much room to work with, so you want to pick the right things to do. My rule of thumb for any property, whether it's for the interior design or extra amenities, is, do I think that's cool? Like, would I want that personally? Yeah. And if that's like your starting basis for a theory, then it's worthwhile to dig into the numbers. But if you don't think you would enjoy it personally, or it doesn't make a difference to you, it probably doesn't make a difference to anyone else who's not as invested in it.
Oh, I love it. That was great. Yeah. And JD, are you guys in that area, kind of by Daytona?
Not yet. We've been like pushing St. Augustine really heavily. That's about all we have for Florida right now. But I've been playing around looking at a bunch of different markets down that way. Florida's been so hot, so yeah, a lot of numbers. Congrats. Daytona's going to be a lot of fun.
Thanks, bro.
Nice. All right, guys. Oh, I think we had one more question from Anne.
Hi, that's me. Hi.
Hi, Anne.
Hi. Newer to the bigger purchasing. I'm not new to purchasing homes in general, but there is an investor. I'm trying to move out of state into Milwaukee. That is my home state of Wisconsin, but I live here on Oahu and I have family in Milwaukee. So there's an investor there that's liquidating hundreds, or a landlord that's liquidating hundreds of his properties. And I am curious as to how to purchase like group purchases if I were to buy 20 of them. And there's another group separate from this landlord, a group of 3 that I'm interested in because they're very close to Wisconsin's largest hospital and learning hospital. So I was going to look into short-term rental for traveling medical professionals to stay in those homes. So, or at least one of that 3 package would be for short-term traveling medical professionals.
Got it. Lisa and her husband, I don't think they're on today, but that's what they look for. So they might be interested. I have your number, yeah, and I think I do.
Yes, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe I can do a connection between you guys. And then what's the deal with these properties though? Is it like 100 single family homes or?
They're almost all duplexes from what I've gathered. I did contact a real estate agent that is helping this landlord liquidate. At one point it was 400 properties. So I don't know. They just said that he was retiring. So
Okay.
maybe he just pulled the trigger and was like, all right, today's the day and I want all 400 gone. I don't know. But 400 properties. I just got an updated list from the real estate agent today, Excel spreadsheet of what's left. And to be quite honest, from my knowledge in the Milwaukee area, there's probably only maybe 10 that I would personally buy out of the remaining. The rest are closer to the inner city, which doesn't bother me if I'm in state, but I'm not there to manage. So the ones that I would feel more comfortable maintenance wise and that kind of thing are probably maybe a handful of 10 or so. So it kind of ranges all over the place. The ones that are in the better areas, if you will, are gone. And now we're looking at the middle neighborhoods, if you will. But the package of 3, points? I'm sorry?
You know the price points roughly?
Yeah, so they just had a huge reduction on 50 of the properties. That was part of the email today. So some of the duplexes, and it's a mix between siding and brick. Usually the top is siding, bottom is brick for these duplexes. We're looking at like 145, 150, some in the maybe 110, 115 area, depending on where it's at. Some of them are going for 85. Those are closer to the lower number streets in town there in the city. But Milwaukee is kind of like the Indy of a lot of people that are investing out of state. Milwaukee has, the sports teams and an international airport, and it's a lake town and the largest hospital, learning hospital, those types of things. So it's definitely not a city to sleep on. And I want to take advantage if I can. I've just never group purchased properties before.
Yeah, I mean, so you can buy them in bulk, but I think for us, we would have to do it door by door. So it'd be separate loan. If you were to buy those 10, we'd have to have 10 separate loans. But we've done that before. So there's really no difference other than like, well, yeah, you'll have extra closing costs. That's the thing. Yeah, that's yeah. But other than that, it's like instead of having 10 payments a month, you have one bigger one.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm looking for, maybe a contact, or if this is even a thing, or somebody that I can speak to I guess, walk me through it and to see if it's even a right match for me to do a group process. I would really appreciate that.
Yeah. Why don't we talk today, and then I can see what we can do. I might have to tag in Justin or Tyler or Scott to help me out.
That's fine.
I'm guessing, is it turnkey?
Most of them already have renters in them, renting at about I averaged them at about $1,850 a month
Wow.
for the rent.
What?
Already, almost all of the properties, I would say 90+% of the properties are already tenant occupied.
And what
then
is
a
the
large
average? 145 or something?
145, 150. I really didn't comb the list I got today, but there were 50 of the properties were reduced by at least 10 grand today. The guy's trying to dump them, that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So I'm interested in some, and I have a shiny new LLC that that Tay helped me acquire.
Nice.
So,
oh, there's a good deed. Good job, Tay.
Okay, there's a good deed. So I was gonna shout her out, and also my hand is behind my back because she's holding it behind my back and made me ask this question on this call today. So so Tay, that's for you as well. That Tay made me do it. So anyway, short story long here. I know we're overboard on the time, but I was just looking for direction, and I thought maybe I'd ask a question just in case someone is in my position as well, because I've never done this as a group or a whole, or had this opportunity available to me to at least dig deeper into if it's the right match.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there might be something there. Do you know what class neighborhood it's in?
It's really literally all over the map. We're looking at like class C, D, and I think all the class A's are gone. The group of 3 that I'm looking at is they're definitely class B, and one of them is all 3 are near the hospital, but one of them I would feel more comfortable doing the short-term rental to traveling medical professionals,
right?
Because they are close to the hospital there.
Yeah, $1,850 a month. That sounds like a class B price.
Yeah,
you know, so
1850. Some of them were like 1925, and then some they were all over $1,000 a month total. You know, so we're looking at 500-600 per unit for the duplexes.
Yeah,
he did. Yeah, and he did have a couple triplexes. Again, I didn't comb today's list yet, but I'm pretty sure the tris are gone. But I'm almost positive about 90% of these are duplexes.
Okay, perfect. Well, yeah, let's connect today. Do you have yeah, I'll post my number again. I always post it everybody.
That's fine. Don't tell anybody, but I have to run to Costco real quick. So, you know, whenever you're ready, it's fine with me. Okay.
Okay, right on. Thank you, Ann.
All right. Thanks everybody for letting me go over time there, and hopefully I help somebody, and thanks, Tay.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you everybody for another great call. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys next week. Aloha, everybody. Hey,